I had a fun experiment where I went on and I rewrote my bio while I was doing a vocal warm-up. So I went on.
This is on Clubhouse.
I opened a room and because I probably had like 10 minutes left of my vocal warm-up routine. And I had the best time. So I was walking around, I was like pacing my living room while singing, while typing my life story using my thumbs in my Clubhouse bio from scratch. Because a lot of times I'll cut, paste out either bios or whatever, just to like get back to pure white space. And if it's really my bio, then I should know it and I should be able to just write it. So I did that. So that was a discovery. But then I ended up also meeting a guy in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is in Canada.
I want to stop you for a second and just let people know that you do your vocal warm-ups live on Clubhouse, which is kind of badass. I actually get a notification because I follow you, so I get it. Jeff Lewis is in this room singing. I'm
Nice.
like, oh, so I can go and just listen to you warm up. It's probably
Nice.
good practice for I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That thing where you have to practice making a fool out of yourself, which I hate practicing in public. But anyway, so this gives people a chance to wander into the room while you're singing, which I'm sure happens.
Yeah, that's what happened. And then another person ended up wandering in, who's someone I talked to on Clubhouse like 4 months ago, who was a friend of a friend. And while I was talking to her in the room tonight, I didn't know it was her, because she's changed her bio and her picture. And then I clicked through to DM or something. I was like, wait a minute, I know you. We've talked before. Alexandra. So anyway, yeah, I'm kind of rediscovering the magic of audio and, doing the thing you say you need to do. And I've been sucky at that. I've been betraying my own gospel.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean? The thing that you need to do. The thing you say you need to do.
Well, yes. So if you're a creative or a creator, which means I'm not going to have a job to then go make the time for something else and say, I'm going to go all in, you really have to put your whole self out there. And you have to be mediocre in public all day. And you have to learn how to practice in public, I think. But I don't know. I'm the furthest from an expert at what works. No one should be interviewing me about the creator economy. I'm a failed hack.
Yeah, I mean, I could call myself that too. I've just figured out a way to weasel my way through a professional career.
Well, I mean, at least you have, I don't want to name your client, but it's like you do sound design for, corporate client A. And it's like, well, you're doing stuff for their summer campaign. And it's like, well, I used to write for social media brands. In fact, that was part of the bio I rewrote on Clubhouse today. Yeah, I don't know. I'm failing and I don't care. And I should care and I don't care. I'm courting disaster.
My path has not led me through the path that you need to go through, which is kind of the social media. I all of my work comes from a past life. I mean, I'm literally a music composer and a sound designer because some people knew the music and sound design I did 10 or 15 years ago and they liked it. And I just happened to get lucky. I've been very lucky. In order to be a successful, I don't know, I hate the word success. I don't even know what that means.
No,
in order to be a creative or a creator, and be able to do it every day and to keep doing it, you need to put yourself out there, like you say. You need to be mediocre in public. You need to be a fool in public. And I never really had to do that. I mean, or I did, but I got to do it when I was 23 years old. And that was enough. And I don't have to do it in my 30s and 40s. And I got so lucky. And if I would have spent more time doing that in my 30s,
I lost you. Host muted. You're muted. Jeffrey, there you go.
I'm back. I'm back. My phone went into background mode for a second.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if I had spent more time being in public through my 30s, and yeah, through my 30s, I'd probably be in a better place right now. But I'm just kind of riding on my luck and the fact that I kind of know what I'm doing at this point. But
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not so totally unhinged in public like some of us are. Which would get exposure for you, and by exposure is a stupid word. But at least you like put your feelers out to who might actually be interested in what you're up to.
yeah, I do the bare minimum of that.
Well, it still sounds like tweeting is so hard for you. And
It
sometimes I'll
is for
read
some
one and
reason.
it's like, that was labored. You labored over that response, and I cry a little inside.
So maybe I just don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm just deep down a follower. I'm not a leader.
Well, do you think you know your own voice?
I when it comes to like words in the English language, I don't know. I mean, I know what I do musically, and that that seems to be enough for me. Of course, it doesn't really translate to social media that well. This time last year, I was doing a thing on Instagram where I was publishing a video with music or sound design every day. So I was creating every day and posting, but like that's my voice right there is making weird sounds. On Twitter, it doesn't really. It's a different venue. It's a different genre.
Yeah. I've started to play with audio tweets and obviously talking into the microphone like this and stringing things together. And frankly, it's like my writing. I mean, as good as my writing voice can possibly get, is it keeps up with my speaking voice. I also think I need to stop thinking of myself as a writer, because no one reads my writing, and I don't even think my writing's that good. It's a place where I discover what I might think. So it's a good tool. But as far as the product of it, it's always just going to be practice, I think. And I am, yeah, I'm going through some, I think, personal cosmic shifts, because my life is very stuck and nothing is happening. And I feel like I need to do something about that. And it probably comes down to the way I think about what I should do next. And, I would counsel anybody to say, do what scares you. And it's like, well, that's a long, hard day of feeling like I don't want to, and then having to do it. And it's, I don't know. Am I tired of doing it? Do I lack the courage? Is it disappointing? And when you launch into the world and no one cares, it's tough to get cared about. It's almost impossible to get cared about. Another thing I've learned, if you don't mind me taking up more space, feel free to jump in.
I just have a question. I have a question, and that is like you asked me if I know my own voice. Do you have a different voice for different outlets? Do you have a different voice for Twitter than you do when you're just talking to me on the phone?
That's a really good question. I sort of come up in a sense in like, a certain school of social media usage where there's a native tongue of the platform, right? On Tumblr, Twitter, Medium, Substack, Patreon, which are the places I make things. Each of those platforms has its own magnetism, and a kind of like, when I go and compose there, it's like I am a wet clay spinning on a wheel, and in a sense, the community that's there shapes what I give it. So, like, the electricity of the platform draws out something from me that I couldn't do without it. So it's not a different voice. It's still the same self, even though I would say that my self is multiple selves and multiple voices that I'm constantly combining and drawing from on the fly to make something that might pass for a cohesive voice, but I'm always making it up as a combinatorial act.
Does it take you time and effort to get that voice? Like you said that you can tell that I labor over a tweet. I mean, honestly, I feel like that might be my voice. I know it is when it comes to music. I don't release anything publicly when it comes to music unless I have labored over it for a long time. Um, and I think that's another thing that I face when I'm just trying to put words together for Twitter. It's like, well, I don't. I mean, yeah, it feels very unnatural for me to do that, and you can tell.
Hmm.
But well, yeah, when it comes to releasing music, I mean, I have releasing an album next month of 12 songs.
Oh, wow.
But I worked for 3 years on that, so labored the
Huh.
hell out of that.
Wow.
But like there's like this to be a creator.
You muted yourself again.
Yeah, for some reason my phone keeps dropping into background. Well, in order to be a content creator these days, you need to have a constant stream of content. You need to like
I
you
maybe.
kind of. I mean, who's going to pay attention to someone on social media if they're not producing? Or they're just
Well,
going to
yeah,
wait
it's like
half a year for
how
the
constant.
next.
You know, I mean, I've been super impressed with TikTok. I've spent a little bit of time there. Man, they do some really good stuff. Really funny stuff. That's also well produced. It's incredible, incredible. I mean, it's as good as TV. Well, I don't know. I mean, like watching a TV plugged in with cable.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to beat like a really well done TV show.
Oh,
Like,
really hard. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, anyway, I was curious, like because that's kind of how I approach creating in general. And for you, I'm curious if using your voice publicly, whether you're making a fool out of yourself or you're just being you or whatever, if that takes effort, if that takes energy, or if that's something you can just do off the cuff.
I think it's something I can do off the cuff. You know, I mean, I think a lot about what like warming up means, and like my like morning pages practice, where I need to like stay apart from from the internet for a while, and I need to either write by hand or write on a typewriter, and just like be with the act of composing, no matter what I'm composing. Because sometimes I'll try to like jump right in, and like, oh, this feels like a blog post, and it's like stupid mistake is to look at Twitter within half an hour of waking up. Stupid, 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 stupid. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I just
Or
don't think about it. I mean, I just don't like it doesn't occur to me to be creative in that way. Like, oh, I'm going to tweet something. It doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I've made Twitter such a component part of my personality and frankly my like biological functioning where it's like part of my whole, stack if we think about it in terms of software for like how I navigate reality is I need to be like giving voice to the voice in my head. And so I sort of just like need to like be like creating surf on Twitter's been like the way that I choose it. Yeah, it's like I need to just be like constantly, I mean, some people call it shit posting, but essentially just like whatever's going through your head, like flush it out almost. And I've not been that good about that. But maybe my thoughts have been boring. I guess they kind of have been.
Yeah, it just doesn't occur to me to do that. I kind of wish that I could. I mean, maybe what I need to do is maybe this would be a good exercise. You know how you have coached me to write every morning, something that I've
Mm-hmm.
really fallen behind on doing. But that it
Mm.
was helping me because it was allowing me to just basically shit post to myself. You know,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
essentially what those writing activities were. You just
Yeah.
basically wake up in the morning and for 15, 20, 30 minutes, or as long as I needed to, just write anything, even if it was completely
Mm-hmm.
nonsensical. I would usually try to make ideas come together, but like doing that in a public forum where I don't really have that many followers, it just seems like I'm thinking too much about what it's like to read that, I
Yeah,
guess.
rather than like the thrill of putting it out, because really what the audience needs is for you to let go of what you think the audience wants, and just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I mean,
That's true. That's
yeah.
really important what you just said there. The
What?
audience needs you to let go of what you think the audience wants.
Yeah, and I mean, because I can tell when people are writing online and they're trying, I can tell, I can look through the typed words, and it's like, I see you there, human ape at Apple device. I know what you've done. I know how that works, and I can
I
see what you're trying to do, and it's not what I need.
I come from a place where my performing art was to put together a show for people, so to even try to anticipate what people will want. And
You're muted again. Sorry. Okay.
that's a very different thing. Yeah, I can tell when I'm muted. By the way, that's a very different thing than
Well, I mean,
being on Twitter, I guess.
see, I mean, I
So
don't
it
know.
just
I
doesn't
mean,
come
to
naturally
me,
to me.
Twitter is such a natural part of, and again, I mean, I write a lot, but I don't think I should call myself a writer anymore. I It's such an important function of like either writing down new kind of like bigger cohesive thoughts in my sticky note, which I've got on my desktop, or like sending an email or a text, or going back and re-editing old stuff. It's like posting to the present, like loosely held conglomeration of friends, colleagues, thought partners. Like that's like just like such an essential functioning of the cell, right? And I guess I'm just used to it now. Where
Yeah,
essentially it's like all day, every day on the internet is a show, and it's a you know, it's not really produced except by little. Everyone's got their little like river that they're contributing. Everyone is somewhere. So I sort of see the day on Twitter as a show, and we're all on stage there together. And we're all hacks, and we're all mediocre, and we're all scared and broke, and trying to find a way to read and write all day, or whether it's create music and listen to music, like whatever your thing is, like you just want to do it all day. And everyone's very hopeful, right? I'd say 99% of people don't have it figured out. I'd say 99.999% don't. Like even really good ones, even people you think would be good enough to be full time, if you actually ask them, I bet they aren't. Being
full time
themselves
what?
online, whether talking or writing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like the whole
Hmm. I think I know what you're talking about. I know a lot of
hosts.
people
I've
who'd be
got
really,
5 clubhouse
really,
rooms that I
really,
host throughout the week, and it's
yeah.
like everyone. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
monetization is a thing people talk about, but I mean, it's like God. It's like you talk about it, but you never see it.
I know what you're talking about. I know people that I think would be very good at Twitter, the game of Twitter, the how,
Yeah.
get as many followers as you can. I know people who'd be very good at that, and
I mean, is that
they
the
don't
game?
do it. And
I don't think that's the
in some
game.
ways, I'm glad. Well, that's one game that a lot of people play.
There's
That's not the game, but it's definitely a game. That's kind of the original Twitter game. That's the game that whatever Ashton Kutcher was playing when he first joined the platform. Who can get to 1 million followers first, all that kind of thing. Which is a game that a lot
I
of people play
guess,
on
but
social
you
media.
can't really convert. I mean, because
It's
everyone's
not what
hard to
I do.
convert, right? Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, quality engagement. I don't know. I mean,
Internet
eventually
marketing.
you find your like 15 main friends, and you just kind of vibe and keep going. I don't know. The whole dream of a huge audience. I think everyone just has to learn on their own that it A doesn't exist and B won't make you happy because you don't actually want it. It's very easy to want, because you don't have to think much about it. That's our whole syndrome in humanity. Make number go up. Make number go up. Eventually you get the
Yeah.
high number and you realize nothing changed. You still don't like yourself.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, what probably changes, and I don't know because I don't have the high number, but I imagine what happens is you well, I just imagine there's it's a different type of loneliness when you've got a million followers or whatever. So you can get basically you can get a
Any thought
response
you have, you'll
anytime you want.
immediately, yeah,
You
it's
can get a
wild to see people when anything crossing
you
their
can get a
brain,
reaction. Yeah.
you can put it out and within seconds have dozens of retweets. It's wild to have someone like so close to your
I
soul almost. It's like they're with you.
I think I would like that in a way. I think I would like that just for the sake of like I want to mine
Yeah.
information. It's like I would love to be able to just ask questions and learn things from a lot of people. I mean, I've done that with a couple friends who have lots of followers. I've said, "Hey, can you tweet
Yeah.
this? I want to find out the answer." But no, I mean, it's a very personal thing when at 4 a.m. you can't sleep and you're like, "Let me go see what a bunch of random strangers have to
Yeah.
say
And a lot of
about
times it's
something
not
that I'm
random strangers.
thinking."
Like you'll get the whole gamut, right? It's like,
That's
you're
true.
not a random stranger. I read your voice in a very particular way. Probably because we have now a long duration and intensity and kind of variance of different things we've said, right? We've been mad at each other. We've laughed like little kids. We've sort of, done it all.
Yeah. Well, because of my other podcast, I've interviewed a lot of people who are anonymous because of the content materials
Mm.
about cryptocurrencies and stuff. And I think it's interesting that some of these accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers are anonymous. So literally everyone that they interact with
Right.
doesn't know who they are and doesn't that never asks and assumes that they want to keep their
Well,
anonymity. That's a strange thing to have so many of your daily
well, I
friends be
mean,
people who don't know
they
you
think they know
at
you well.
all,
I
or
mean,
maybe they know
there's a
you better. I don't
few
know.
like alt accounts who aren't really alts, but I mean, like, big accounts that aren't a personal account, but they have a brand identity for sure, and like they've got a voice for sure, and I'm sure it's a very component part of that actual person's personality and identity. They just don't put their name on it. Um,
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's like similar to, I mean, when wrestlers have a costume, for example, or I don't know, I mean, like a comedian on stage, it's like that's one of their selves, it's one of their voices. But I mean, everyone's got a public, a private, and a secret self. Three selves.
Yeah. And so social media kind of messes with it. It really asks you
Well,
who you
yeah,
are
I mean,
publicly.
it
That's for sure.
invites, and I mean, you could just be with the people in your life, right? I think social media is used by people who probably have generally, or maybe I'm just talking about me here, bad relationships with people in their life, or they don't really have real
Huh.
solid communities, an overused word, but um, you wouldn't need to go read Twitter or post on Twitter if you actually were listening to people and talking to actual people, because you would have no need for some sense of the global mass or some online digital community. It's
I mean, that's the way I was. That's the way I was, and for the most part, that's the way I am, and that's why I don't really feel that the need. I feel like trying to, when I force myself to use social media, I feel like it's definitely something I don't need because I have relationships that are outside of that. Um, but I feel like if I don't take part in it, I'm missing out on something, and I feel like it's something that has grown so much. I want to understand it And because I've started using it more in the last few years, it's opened up a lot. I mean, we talk a lot about social media on this show.
Yeah.
You are a person that I've never met.
Yeah.
I've never met you in person. I only know you through social media. And in the last few years, I've made a lot of friends this way. And we talked to
Mm-hmm.
Noah Smith on the other podcast. Noah Smith is somebody who is friends with hundreds of thousands of
Right.
people that he's never met. He knows a lot of
Yeah.
people who he genuinely considers
Yeah.
close, and he's never met them in person. And for some people, that's their lives. I came to using social media and Twitter and Instagram. I started using these very late. I didn't join Facebook until
Oh, wow.
I don't know, 2011 or something, which was pretty late. And I didn't need it. I didn't need it, and I didn't like being that public in general. Probably maybe I had something to hide. Well, I definitely had stuff to hide, but yeah, no, and like recently, it's been like, oh, I can actually make cool relationships this way. It is a way to open the world and find like-minded people, and that was one of the greatest things about something like Twitter. You can find like-minded people as long as you are yourself and
Yeah,
you
you
post
will.
about the things that you like. You'll find them, and so I don't want to miss out on that. I want to be a part of it, but I definitely don't look to it as a replacement for anything that I have in my normal life. And but at the same time, I don't think it
Yeah.
would be bad if it were. Like you say, if you're not happy with the relationships in your
Mm-hmm.
non-social media life, whatever you'd call that, real life, if you are not happy with that, then why not? Why not check the rest of the world
Well, yeah.
for people that you want to interact with? Because that's why close yourself into the little community in your physical world when you can branch out
Well,
to
because you end up stuck at home,
everyone.
not really making a life outside of social media. And I wonder if that's what
Yeah.
is happening to me. Oof.
Well, I mean, you are not required
I
to
know.
stay home.
Yeah. Well,
You are not.
I'm just like depressed and recovering from a bad relationship that wasn't bad, but the ending was unsatisfying.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And you might be looking to social media
Well,
to fill some of that relationship
it's not. I mean, it's not really a
void
relationship
that's
void. I
there.
mean, but like my mind's always going, and I've sort of gotten used to essentially carrying on a conversation in my head all day with myself, and then trying to pull others into it, and also getting pulled in to theirs. So essentially, my life is about writing and reading, which is about other people. And in a sense, my real life has always been just a support system for my galaxy brain life of words and thinking and listening and reading and sending. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've sort of made it so like I want a quiet life at home, and of course like exercise is like a kind of big part of my day and life. But yeah,
So what made you feel that you recently came out of some kind
oh
of
well, yeah.
slump
So I
that you've
mean,
been into the
going
last
on
6 weeks?
Clubhouse to do my voice warm ups, and I ended up meeting some guy and like really like getting along with him and like helping him. And then also just like experimenting with like voice and doing more either like voice messages to people or voice tweets or voice memos or things like this, or like talking on the phone. Yeah, I'm learning that I'm actually like not only like a good person, but like, oh, the things I have to say are good. And I don't really make many mistakes anymore, I don't think, because I've spent so much time playing with my own voice and making mistakes on my own and like essentially like listening to myself. Yeah, listening to myself, right? I mean, kind of writing it and then like reading it in real time, I think I'm like very aware of my instrument now. So yeah, I think I get more information across when I speak. I think I'm just like more attractive when I speak. I think
Then
writing. I mean,
when
no,
you do what?
no one reads it because it's not
Writing.
readable.
Okay.
I don't try to make it readable, right? And I refuse to do it. So I need to give up the dream that I'm going to do it, and I need to go find another way.
How did Faulkner do
Well,
it?
they either edited it, like they did drafts, right? My brain can't do drafts anymore.
did they did have you read The Sound and the Fury? It feels like it's just
Well,
stream of
it's probably what it
consciousness.
is
I
at
guess
first,
that's
but
what
it's
it
like,
is.
like if I didn't have the
Uh,
internet and all I had was my own bad writing and then print, I probably would go through my typewritten pages and read them and correct them.
do you ever write?
No,
Do you ever write stories?
no,
Do you ever write about
I really
characters?
don't write fiction. I really
No,
don't write short stories, unless they're the things that happened to me, and I can sometimes like embellish. And I mean, it's a form that I could try out.
so it's mostly. Because that's when I was thinking of Sound and the Fury and William Faulkner. That's the reason I think that it works for him is because he's writing about things that are that have
Yeah,
imagery and have there's humans in the story that people can relate to and stuff, but your writing is more of a bunch of ideas that are strung together, and it's very introspective. It sounds like you're asking yourself as
yeah.
well as other people, um, and it's I like I like reading what you write. I do read it. I'm one of the few. I can't, but sometimes I don't
Yeah.
really know what it's about. Sometimes I feel like I'm reading it so that I can catch a line here or there that
Yeah.
I like. And that's the way I experience it. I never know what to expect, but I always know that there's going to be something that's going to be like, that's an
Yeah.
interesting combination of words. And I think that's an interesting way to write is to make combinations of words in a way that's the way I make music and sound design. I'm not thinking about song structure and I'm not thinking about chord progressions necessarily. Sometimes I am, but for the most part I am just thinking about these are three interesting notes that go together. So
Yeah, the writing
yeah.
I do, I mean, it's just what's in my mind, and ideally, it moves down to the heart and the gut. And I mean, frankly, that's where I've been afraid to go, which is the reason for my stalled life. Is I am afraid to just speak what's there, right? Maybe I'm too tied up in my own voice and what it's supposed to be, right? Which would explain the constant changing of my name and changing of my profile picture. I mean, I don't think I ever want to be like settled. Um, I mean, it's funny. I was like looking at government documentation. I got my vaccine today. I was writing out a passport application yesterday. So very much Jeffrey Paul Lewis. And it's like, what a fucking pretentious name. Jeffrey with a G. It's so pretentious. And
Jeffrey with a G. Yeah. Well, my name is the dumb
right,
American version.
right.
Jeffrey with a J.
So yeah. I mean, it's like I like don't really
Jeff.
relate to that anymore. It's like I've become someone else than the child I was. So yeah, I don't know what I need to do with my name, but it's not working. But I do like what I've done with my other social media platforms. I did some some hiding and archiving from my Medium the other day, and it's led me back to some of my better posts. I like what I've got out there, right? But it's a competitive landscape out there, right? I mean, between,
Mm-hmm.
again, I've said like Substack, Patreon, Medium, Tumblr. The four of those each read like a very cool work with their own voice, right? You asked earlier about do I write with different voices? I definitely wrote them all differently. And those are frankly four, I mean, as finished as a work can possibly get these days. Because no work is finished, but it needs a reader. And I mean, I think they're like consistent within each of those four verticals. But it's, again, it's no big deal at all to go say, I've published something. It's actually the stupidest thing in a sense. Because anyone can publish. The question is, and the very hard question is how to get attention in a world of cognitive surplus where everyone has so many choices. And I think that's what I'm starting to become a critic of the whole like prospect of the creator economy because eventually no one has time.
Mm-hmm.
They might when they're young. And I did when I was
You
young.
yeah.
Um
You need to offer something, and I hate this word of value. You have to. I mean, like, isn't that what you're doing
well,
already? Isn't
yeah,
that what we're all doing? You need to be able to think in terms of little nuggets of
nuggets of
value. I
value.
think that's the easiest way for
Let's
people to be
call
able
this
to
podcast that because it's the stupidest
nuggets of
fucking thing
value.
I've ever
Yeah,
heard. Nuggets of value.
it's pretty bad.
Hey, listen to Geoff and Jeff
It's
give
really
nuggets of
bad.
value.
You but it's like everything needs to be bite sized because nobody can commit to
It's a there's
anything
terrible
else.
readers.
Everything needs to be
Yeah,
the
they're yeah,
five best
like
ways
they've
to
got
do
one
this.
foot in, and if you can keep them hooked, they'll read you. Yeah, I mean, but it's like also
Mhm.
like no one's going to give you anything for getting those readers, right? It's like there's no second step. I think the thing that comes next is an illusion. The fact is you just get old, and eventually you figure out how to submit things to people. So again, I mean, like this is a whole world I've sort of stepped more into lately since the passing of the great Giancarlo Di Trapano, which really moved me and still continues to move me daily. The more like literary magazine community and like actual writers of actual cool shit who are like actually who I want to spend my time with. I just need to finish more pieces and submit them, either poems or essays or whatever. And it's wanting to be
Mhm.
worthy of that community that would make me want to edit stuff, right? I've had no good reason, right? Running out of money is not a good enough reason. It's not
Mhm.
strong enough of a pull. But shame and pride, okay, now we're really talking, right? I was really moved by Gian's death, and it's still daily, and like up you again. It's like I only gravitate more toward that corner of the internet of writers on Twitter.
You mentioned these these writers that do cool shit, and so what do you want people to read
Yeah.
your writing for? Do you want people to read it because they think it's cool shit? Do you want people to read it because it changes the way they feel? Because people still uh, they consume content if it changes the way they feel, if it makes them happy or sad or makes them laugh or whatever. That's why comedy is so
Yeah.
popular on social media. And I think that if you're not, you don't need to think about what you produce as nuggets of value, but you probably should think about like
Yeah.
why is somebody reading what you're writing, and maybe making cool shit. I mean, I made a career out of making cool shit. Like I didn't when I was playing in a band, I was basically doing stuff to make myself look and seem really cool, and people thought I was really cool, and they would come to see me play or whatever. I wasn't. I mean, sure, we were kind of throwing parties, and the music had emotional stuff to it. I mean, it's music after all, but I don't think that's where I was hitting people. I don't think people were coming to see us play and
Sure.
thinking, "Oh, this is moving me to a new place." I think they
Yeah.
were thinking, "This is really fucking cool."
Yeah.
or
Well,
a
yeah, you
version
asked
of
me a
that.
good question. And in a
Yeah.
sense, I've like avoided both editors and also strategists like career coaches. I think I tried hard to stay away from that, and I hope I'll be glad that I did. Right? Those are questions that I was asked when I was 26 of, where do you want your words to show up? Whether Vice or McSweeney's or Thought Catalog or this, that, the other, HuffPost, whatever. I kind of just like missed that whole world and like never really did the things that a lot of online writers have done. And now, I see that I'm a no name in general, which is okay. And it's not that my writing is bad. It's that I've plainly like not really cultivated the relationships. And you know what? Because I haven't tried to help. Because I've been selfish, which I thought was the mark of a patron saint of creativity. But I think all it has done is nothing. Nothing happens when you don't help people, when you don't try to be useful or, add value.
Help people or
Yeah,
try to be useful. Yeah, that's a better way to put it than nuggets of value.
I've fucked up. I think I've fucked up with what I've been capable of.
Well, maybe you're just fucking up.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't fuck
Well,
up.
yeah,
Maybe
I have
you're just in the process of it, and you need to get through it.
It's indefensible that I have no good answer to what you just asked me, which is like, who's it for and what is it and why should they read? What do I want people to read? I can't believe I let myself get this far in my so-called career and not have an answer to that at all. If anyone who's decent can rattle that off quickly, and then they actually go into a podcast where they say some things. I think I'm just incapable of doing the things that others do. And I guess that I have to triple down on that. And if it leads me to a brick wall and I die, fine. I've pledged my death to the game on this podcast probably every freaking time we record. Say, I'm going to die for this. Stupid.
I think there's something very noble about making art without knowing or even caring about what people are going to do with it once you create.
Well, and I
think there's something very noble about it.
But it's like I should at least like it or love doing it. I used to be happier doing it.
Or it should offer you some.
And I guess value. Maybe I'm just in like the very unpleasant work of facing what I actually think that I am and having to actually change my mind. And maybe I'm just proving that it's not daisies and champagne flutes and laying in a field enjoying it. It's like, well, it's factory work of your own dark soul. And it's like, well, maybe it is cool and different and admirable that I can come on being interviewed, right? The holy grail, I'm being interviewed. And it's like, I use that time to really work out my own shit. And frankly, like, this is the best my writing voice can get. And so this is actually just what it is. And maybe I'm just seeing it. And it's like, I guess I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed and dazzled with what I can do anymore. And maybe that's like just part of the job. And I read something like that the other day of some other writer who I recognize who's dead. It's like, well, you're not always impressed with what you do. And I think it's just part of the job is like, even when things are crap and you feel bad and you're not in flow, showing up to being crap and saying, well, I'm crap and this is it. And knowing that like that's actually part of the productive day and it goes in seasons. Maybe this is just, 34-year-old version of what the game really is. This is what a bad time is. It's not being drunk and drug addicted and women chasing. It's sitting in the fucking garage in the car, recording a podcast, saying that you suck. That's the height of creative patience. Is I suck and I'm willing to keep working it out. And why is that? I'm not going to let myself off the hook with an easy answer. You know, it's not so easy to just like be self-flagellating and then think it's truth. It's like, well, no, what's actually in there?
Well, one of the reasons that I read your stuff and one of the reasons that I do this show with you is because it kind of inspires me to not. I guess it allows me to, uh, I guess, feel better
Mm-hmm.
about my own shit because, you know, like anybody who is listening to this that's talking right now, like
Thank
if
you.
somebody's listening to this, if they listen to one or more, if yes, thank you. If you've listened to one or more of these, you're probably
Huh.
listening thinking, oh yes, I felt that before. I've gone through that. I'm happy they're talking about
Hmm.
this because no one does. You know, no one really does, and I feel like that's what your writing is you're saying stuff that nobody else says, and I think that
Yeah.
there's value in that. And I think when I'm reading what you're writing, even if it's not really making sense to me because it is kind of stream of consciousness, and I'm looking for, you know, uh, I might be looking for patterns or combination of words that I think are unique or interesting or whatever. I'm still reading, thinking nobody else is saying this, nobody else is doing this, and you're doing it constantly. You are
Hmm.
inspiration because you're doing it constantly. I mean, even the fact that you go on Clubhouse and you do your vocal lessons, your vocal practice on Clubhouse. I mean,
Hmm.
people are probably inspired by that when they hear it. They're like,
Yeah.
"This is pretty badass," you know. That somebody is just going to basically say, "I'm going to rehearse in public, and I don't care who comes." I mean, why not
Yeah.
do that? Really, it takes some balls to be able to do that, and to be able to show people that it's not that hard, and people don't. It's not that scary, and people
No.
are not going
Yeah.
to crucify you for it. I
No.
mean, maybe depending on who
You
you are, I
know,
guess. But
I'm learning that spending time in public is better than spending time in private, and just like learning to be your private self in public, I think is really the ultimate skill these days, right? Like being willing. You know, I mean, most of my work day is like open source, right? Like I'll tweet out what I'm thinking. Like I'm not saving anything for later, and that's what I'm learning. It's like all the thousands of pages of writing I've done. It's like there's no later to save it for. It's like you've got to make it good, right? And I guess I'm just learning. It's really hard to keep people with you. It's really hard to write minute after minute, or to write something that will keep a reader with you minute after minute after minute. Really hard to write. Really like 5 minutes
oh
of good
yeah,
writing is just really hard to do. It's really hard to make something good enough that's going to keep a reader and
yes.
pull them through. And I feel like I've spent no, I
And you,
yeah, and it's
especially
like
when you're
I've
not thinking
spent no
about it at
time
all.
thinking about it and shaping it. And yeah, maybe I'm thinking like I don't think I want to even write something that I then no. You know,
Maybe it's
I
a
feel
little
like I solve
challenge.
this when I write on the typewriter. I really like writing on a typewriter. There's something about it.
Because
Each one gets pushed. Yeah. And
each
I
letter
think,
is so much more
because
important.
there are readers who are like me, I think. And yeah. But it's like, why don't I publish that stuff? Right? Again, I need a coach. I need someone to just point at me and say, you're being an idiot. You're not doing a thing that you could be doing. I'm just so,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so bad at strategy. But I think I love self sabotage. I think I love driving myself into a brick wall. I think I love it. And it makes me want to break glass and put this phone through a fucking window. But it's like, well, there's that self destructive urge. It's that urge to die.
Well, you just got to write that one bit of fiction that has all of that in it, and people will
Uh,
probably love reading it.
I don't know.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
fiction. You could just
well, it would just be me
make up a
writing out
fake
my
name.
pure rage. And like,
Yeah.
And I've done that before, and maybe I've been going swimming in these old documents, sorting out my Google Drive and looking at big raw pieces of writing that I made public and said anyone with the link can view and comment, and I sent it to a few people.
I think people need and want to read your rage, but they just need to do it in a way that they can
Yeah,
relate to.
and like I'll like get back from talking about my rage, and I'll like go back to the internet and realize like I'm so unimportant. Like my voice is so unimportant compared to other ones that should be elevated. Right? And even if I do write a lot, it doesn't mean that, cuz I do have
Hmm.
some readers who read my stuff and my taste, and it's like, well, should I just be promoting my own writing? I don't, I guess only when I'm excited about it. Well, yeah,
Yes, you should
I
be
mean,
promoting your own writing.
but mostly I'm curating what I think others should read or what I think they should be aware of.
That's true, and that's a
Yeah.
really important job.
So mostly it's like me being
I
a
think.
reader with other readers.
Hmm. Well, you're very, very good at
Yeah,
that.
well, I've created the time to do it. I mean, all I do all day is
I wish.
so yeah. I mean, to sort of go back to like my versus your Twitter use. Like I'm constantly on my screen, I'm constantly reading stuff, and so Twitter is very natural to talk about what it's like to make a comment. And I guess I'm just like really dialed in my thinking voice and my writing, like the technique of putting words in front of each other in my mind and then on screen using my hands. I guess I've just like done a lot of that. So it's
Mm,
I don't know. I mean, writing and reading just like go so
yeah.
much together. It's like a dance that's always going on. Essentially, like read a lot until you have something to say, and then you write it.
Well, half of our interaction is you referring to other things that you see, I think, or read. Right. Like
Oh, right.
our DMs, for instance, are a lot of
Well,
you quoting
it's me sourcing reading for you,
others,
right? Because in a sense,
or
you're in my heart, and it's like, well, I know
right,
you don't
yeah.
spend 8 hours a day reading stuff, but I know how to be.
But no, but that's what's awesome. I mean, that I love that. Like that's the reason.
Hmm,
That's the reason that we're friends. Or I mean, it's like it's the reason that we still have DMs open. Is because like,
hmm.
or it's the reason I still respond to you. I mean, I don't know. I imagine you don't do that for
No.
everyone. You're sending
Well,
them
yeah. I
messages
mean,
saying,
because
"Hey,
there's
check
only,
this out. You might like
I
it."
mean, like,
So,
I mean, it's probably like 12 or 15 people, maybe, but each one is very special. And it's like, I'm constantly thinking about them because I'm also like trying to be wise for them and keep them cutting edge because I want them to win because I think we win together.
hmm,
So
yeah,
it's like,
I
yeah,
see. Yeah,
I mean,
I
yeah,
agree with
because
that.
like I think in the absence of many readers, I think I need to just like be good to the few that I have. And it's like, well, if I speak, they'll listen. And it's like, well, it turns out having the right short list of people like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Who knows what it will pan out within 5 years. I have no idea. It may be exactly the same, right? Just like people who are 39 years old now online. It's like nothing really changes. Nothing really changes. There's no big break, really. Even if you get it, you're just another dude with a blinking cursor and a microphone. I think, yeah, I probably mentioned
Yeah,
anticlimax on our last call, but that's been a big theme lately. Is like the anticlimax of there is no such thing as success, and there is no other place than finding a way to stay alive and keep grinding and make stuff you like. And this is the thing you and I have said from the beginning of this podcast, is like, if we like it, other people will. So the real challenge is keeping ourselves interested.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I learned from doing a podcast, the last podcast, that is that for me it was talk about finding your voice. My voice was just this. It's just having a conversation with somebody and enjoying it. And if anybody hears that, and if anybody hears what we're saying and they like it or it helps them or whatever, then that's it.
Well,
that's all I need.
Yeah.
So
I think I've been thinking about what communities I want to belong to, and I'm feeling a drift away from tech and venture capital toward literary magazines and books and literature. Because I think all tech aspires to poetry.
Well, that sounds like a topic for another talk, actually. All
We've got
tech
3.5 minutes here. Let's see what we can do. I mean, I think people want to be
put
poets.
It into a nugget of value,
right? I think software engineering, product design, graphic design, UX design. You're trying to make a home for someone to live in, right? It's the same.
Developers,
it's the same thing.
Artists,
it's
in my opinion,
dressmaking, homemaking, cooking. A lot of the feminine branded arts. It's actually very much architecture. It's creating a place in which to live, a place to rest your mind, rest your hands, rest your body, rest your voice. Right? If you're writing pages, you're making a place for someone to rest their weary mind, from their own thoughts or from the frantic newsfeed. It's like, no, here, let me lay out a blanket for you with some snacks and some water, and come hang out. Come rest. Come here. I think that's what a piece of clothing does. Certainly what music does. And eventually I think people get tired of mediating through corporate stuff and brand stuff, and they just want to go heart to heart. People just want to do conversation. I think that's the most natural thing people want to do. And, we're maybe in this just period where everyone's in a tizzy trying to monetize their conversation. I don't think anyone can do it. I don't think it happens. I think everyone either has a day job on the side or they're independently wealthy. I don't think I don't think there's any money in the creator economy. I think it's a con. I think the whole notion of an audience. Well, I don't know. I guess I just haven't gone out and tried to shake people down for $5 to $10 a month. But it's really hard to make an audience of 1,000
You're
true
not selling
fans.
T-shirts? You're not selling socks with your picture on them?
I'm not selling socks or T-shirts. No. I'm reading. I'm too busy.
You know what
I'm
you
reading.
Need is you need an online course to sell. That's right.
Yeah, be broke just like me. Be broke, angry, and scared, exactly like me, and pay me lots of money.
Why you don't need any of that stuff?
Yeah, I think the best people give it away for free. So the question is how to maybe and again my problem is perceptual. Is why don't I feel free? Why am I not enjoying? Yeah, I don't know what my problem is. It has to do with the mind and thinking. I have thinking problems.
I think with that we can wrap it up.
Okay. Thanks so much for listening.
We don't know what's wrong with our minds.
That's a decent title.
Yes.
All right.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.